Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to go over Bitcoin, Ethereum, EGLD, and Cardano. And basically what I'm doing is I'm starting up the live stream again. The internet seems to be fixed, so we'll hope it goes that way. For anyone watching on YouTube, make sure you watch my last video. I gave you a disclaimer about the comments. There are some people impersonating me now and then. They're putting like Telegram channels, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff in the comments. It is not me who says that. Always click on my name, make sure it's actually me, make sure my videos are there, make sure the subscriber count is there, and just keep yourself protected. Do not provide or contact anyone who is trying to get you to call them or anything like that. It's not safe. All right, so I haven't looked at the charts today, so we're going to start off fresh, and we are going to see what all is happening. There is one thing that I do know, all right? This morning, Jerome Powell in the United States was talking about the bond market and treasury yields. And essentially, his comments there were not really the best. So what you're seeing in the U.S. is you're seeing the equities, which is the traditional stock market, take a little bit of a hit today. And at the same time that his conversation occurred, we actually started to see Bitcoin dip. So that Bitcoin dip we saw today is actually very likely in relation to Jerome Powell's comments regarding the bond market and treasury yields. So I recommend that you do your own due diligence and look up that discussion, look up any articles about it, and educate yourself about how that affects hard assets, particularly Bitcoin in this case. Okay, so first thing when we look at Bitcoin, we're looking at the price movement since the last time we talked. The last time we talked, Bitcoin, I believe, was dipping back down to around this level. And at that time, what I told you was that if we start to see Bitcoin bounce off of the blue average here, and let me actually get rid of this fib retracement so it's a little clearer for you. So what I told you at the time is that we see Bitcoin bounce off of this blue moving average, which is the 20 exponential moving average, then we could be expecting a bounce above the yellow line. And our goal there is to get support at the yellow line. So we kind of did a lot of that. We did bounce off of the blue moving average. We actually came down and touched the median line of the Bollinger Band, which is that red line. It might be a little faint for you, but it is there. So we'll remove the Bollinger Band for now. And you'll see that bounce off was really good because what we actually had with that bounce is we had a pretty major bullish cross. This cross here is where the 20 exponential moving average crossed above the 100 exponential moving average and the 50 exponential moving average. Now, this can happen numerous times when you're pulling out of a bear cycle, and that's essentially this cycle right here where we dropped. Now, as we're pulling out of this bear cycle and we're moving up, we are starting to see that we're setting in lower highs and right now even certainly higher lows at this point. So lower highs in this sense, right? And even here, that's a high, and we set in a higher high, but now we're setting in lower highs. And we also are setting in higher lows in this sense, right? We had a low here at around 47,000, and then our next low is where we were in the last 4 hours, which is at around 47,600 roughly. Now, what we want to see is if Bitcoin dips, is it going to go below this level? Is it going to go below that line? And if it goes below that line, that's not necessarily the best sign, but when you see so many things going on in the traditional equities markets and with the Fed, you have to take in mind that liquidity issues are going to affect Bitcoin. So with Bitcoin taking a little bit of a correction today, the question is how far is it going to go? Now, one thing to keep in mind with Bitcoin is it's still looking very, very bullish because it is trading within a very strong trading channel. And the price is sitting at 48,500 at this, or at 48,000 at this very moment. Now, what you really want to look at for Bitcoin is how does what's happening with the bond market and the treasury yields really affect the price? And at this point, if the price effect is that we go down $2,000, that's a pretty low effect. You know, that is talking about, since this morning, having an effect of roughly 5%, 6%. It's not too bad considering what's happening with the traditional economies. So it's showing that even though Bitcoin is taking these dips, Bitcoin's being bought. And you can really, really see that in this candle here. It got bought up. The last candle went back down, and now we are still trading at 48. So what I really want to see now for the next few hours is, does Bitcoin keep moving back up at a slow average here until it has a bounce? The way you want to think about Bitcoin right now is that it's kind of like a basketball being held underwater. Okay, you're holding it underwater, and everything that's going on with the markets is putting more and more pressure on it. But eventually, that pressure is going to release, and that basketball is going to fly out and it's going to go really high up. So we're waiting to see what is that trigger going to be. And right now, I think that the majority of what smart money is doing is using these dips as opportunity to accumulate, because right now, I think the odds of us dropping below 43,000 where we dipped the last time, or even to that level, is pretty low. I think the maximum we dip to now, if we do dip, is around the 45,000 level, which is right where this red support line is, assuming that holds, which I think it should. So keep that in mind for Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, I just want to wrap it up with a short news article. So you see this article here. It talks about North America's first Bitcoin ETF now holds over 11,000 Bitcoin. So if you don't know about this, the Purpose Bitcoin ETF, it gained a lot of attention when it launched on the 18th of February on the TSX. That's the Toronto Stock Exchange. So right now it's trading in Canada. This fund saw more than 165 million in trading volume on the first day. The ETF trades under the symbols BTCCB. So make sure you take a look at this. It's BTCC.B. Read a bit about it. But what you really want to see here is their holdings. This chart here gives us a lot of information that's quite shocking. So you're looking at the holdings of Bitcoin that are part of this ETF. And when it launched on February the 19th, there was around 6,000 or a little bit under 6,000 Bitcoin being held. That stayed the same for about 3 days. And then on the 22nd of February, they went up to 8,000. So they bought about 2,000, 2,300 Bitcoin somewhere between the 21st and 22nd. Now, if we go back to the chart and we look at the 21st and 22nd, you'll see what they did. They bought during this dip. Chances are their buy might have been part of the reason that when it dipped so low, the candle was immediately bought back up. That could have been 3,000 Bitcoin being bought up as part of this company, pushing the price back up. So keep in mind, all of these numbers relate back to the charts. Let's keep moving. So the next thing we see is that they've steadily gone up over the course of the last week. And from 8,000 at that point, they are now holding close to 11,000 Bitcoin, or essentially right at the 11,000 Bitcoin mark. This ETF just launched. So they're already holding 11,000 BTC in the first week. They've bought over 5,000 Bitcoin since their initial launch. They started with 6,000. Now they're sitting at 11,000. And that's in a week. That means the amount of money going into this fund is forcing the fund to buy more Bitcoin to leverage that money, right? They have to have something to back it in the ETF so they can pay out when anyone sells. Now, what you're going to see is if this ETF continues to pick up, the amount of Bitcoin being purchased by the ETF is going to keep going up. Now, in correlation to this, there are a lot of ETFs that are trying to launch in the United States markets on the New York Stock Exchange, possibly becoming part of the SPX. We don't know exactly, but as those ETFs launch, you're going to see something very similar. You're going to see those ETFs purchasing a lot of Bitcoin as part of their holdings, and that's very, very important because keeping up with the news is critical. As those ETFs start to get closer to launch, they will have to buy a lot of Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. It's very, very key, and it can really show you the importance of supply and demand when it comes to Bitcoin. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on from Bitcoin over to Ethereum. Ethereum has been seeing a lot of, unfortunately, not great price action recently. Ethereum took a very large dip. It went all the way from 2,000 and retraced back to around 1,300. And now from that 1,300 mark, it is starting to recover. But as you'll notice, like we saw with Bitcoin, we had a bullish cross with Bitcoin, right? The blue moving average crossed over the other moving averages. If you look at this chart, the blue moving average is still at the bottom. It has not had a bullish cross yet. So this chart is still looking quite bearish. What we really need to see is a price movement up to about 1,700 until we really see that 20 exponential moving average move up. And then at that point, see the other moving averages go like this, cross over, and then you'll have your bullish cross. So we really need to see a bullish cross occur with Ethereum to start going back into the green, really, with price action. And right now it's slowly recovering, but there's still a lot of worry around Ethereum with a lot of people. Now, one of the things I recently said on Twitter was that Bitcoin is basically the reserve currency, right? It has the most powerful traits of money, and everything else is speculation. Now, I invest in altcoins, right? I have some holdings in Ethereum, I have some in Cardano, I have some in EGLD, and the reason I hold these coins is because I believe in the projects, but I also have the risk management necessary to know that these are not the same as Bitcoin. Now, why is that? I'm going to go into this in a lot of detail in a future video to give you a good explanation of the difference between Bitcoins and altcoins. But because the market is doing what it's doing now, I want you to have a little bit of that information. So this is a preview about what we're going to discuss in that video. But basically, the gist of it is that with these other projects like Ethereum, Cardano, EGLD, Polkadot, all these other things, you are relying on a group of people. There's a group of people that run that project, that are responsible for the development, that are responsible for the marketing, that are responsible basically for the adoption. And they have a stake in it. There is a certain number of coins in each of those projects that are held by the treasuries, that the owners of the project, they own it. And they use that money to keep putting into the project and building it further. Now, the issue with this is that you are reliant on that group of people, right? If they fail, the project fails. With Bitcoin, that's not the case. There is no central group of people that you're relying on. Bitcoin could stay exactly like it is today, never change for the next 100 years, and the price could keep going up. That's because adoption and growth are not reliant on any group of people, right? There's no central group of people. But with Ethereum, for example, imagine if something happens to Vitalik. If he gets into a medical emergency, anything like that, the price of Ethereum is going to go down. That's a major risk. Very similar with Polkadot, with Cardano, with EGLD, with all other altcoins. So make sure you remember that, and I'll go into a lot more detail in the future on that topic. Okay, so continuing with Ethereum, one thing that we're really seeing on the bullish case is that this move up right now is putting in the classic lower highs, higher lows. And we do want to see that for a move up. It almost looks like a bull flag right now if you look at it from this sense, and this could really mean that we see a price move up, but is just not confirmed yet. What's really key with Ethereum at this very moment is where does the price go on March the 6th? So in the next 2 days, if it keeps getting constricted here, we're going to want to see a move up past 1600. If we don't see that move up past 1600 and hold above 1600, then Ethereum could very much be in trouble for some more downside. And that downside might not be, anywhere close to 1300, but when it goes back and has some downside, you could see Ethereum move in this direction, right? Hit the 1400 mark or 1422 and then keep moving up and trading sideways, which essentially would just give you a much bigger symmetrical triangle. And that's going to indicate a longer term correction for Ethereum. So keep that in mind. Something like this is very feasible. The short term, we just have to keep an eye on whether or not we see that bullish cross. Okay, right now it's not showing, and the RSI is looking really good. Metrics wise, everything's looking good, but the volume is low. We're technically in a bearish trend right now with the moving averages. So seeing the moving averages flip, seeing the price go above 16, really key. So keep that in mind for Ethereum. Next, we're going to move on to EGLD. EGLD and its hypergrowth have really been looking good right now. And you know what I'm going to do with EGLD is I'm going to switch over to my other chart. Let's go to this chart. So EGLD and its hypergrowth initiative is really looking good right now. The team behind EGLD has been doing a great job to let the community be aware of what it is that they're working on. You'll see the prediction that we had made in this symmetrical triangle. It's actually not too bad of a prediction when it comes to the levels that we hit. We did max out right where we predicted we would, even though it happened 2 days earlier. And now we are coming back to test this line. So at this point in time, this prediction is no longer necessary. We're going to get rid of it. But what we are going to see here for EGLD is something very important. That bullish cross we talked about last time has only gotten bigger. The price has been moving up to a level now where we are trading right on the blue line. So when you're trading on that blue line, on that 20 exponential moving average, the key is to stay above it and bounce above it. We haven't seen that bounce yet. We had a small taste of it. It might have happened when we came up here, but we have come back and corrected down, and we tested and got support on that line. We also tested directly on the trend line and got support there. So we got support at the two key areas that we wanted to see support on, which is there and there. And as long as we get support on those levels, it continues the bullish case of us moving up past 160, 170, 180. And honestly, this is looking really, really good, because even when it goes up to that level, the sell-off went down and got bought up very quickly. And it's getting into a point now where it's telling me that all we really need to see with EGLD is we need to see it hold on top of this yellow line. So there's no definitive answer yet on where EGLD is going to go. Right? Is it because what EGLD could very much do is it could just trade sideways for another 8 to 12 hours and then bounce up all the way to like 160, 180. You could see another move similar to this where the price over 24 hours goes up significantly, and that would fall right in line with the current trend. So that's one possibility, right? That's not the only possibility, but that's one. So on the bullish case, that's a good possibility, and the next target that we really want to see it start getting close to is around 180. We want to see it break 170 and go between 175 and 180, and ideally we want to see it trade in this area for quite a while. If it trades here for a few, even a week, I mean, I would like to say a few weeks, but I don't know if it'll trade there for that long. But even a week or 4 days, if it trades there, what that's going to do is that's going to do one of the key things that we want to see is we want to see more volume being built up in that range. So I'd love to see that. Now, for the bearish case, what we could see is we could see a drop down into the triangle again and get support at the bottom of the triangle. And that puts a downward target at around 123. So if we go and hit the 123 line, then the key is, do we get support again, or do we get resistance at 135 and keep trading in this range? And if we go back and trade inside that triangle, that's really good. That's a great thing to do, because that is one area that we would love to put in more support and then break out of. And when you break out of this type of consolidation, you're probably going to have a much stronger move than the one we had here. So pretty much, even if we go into this type of a pattern and we start breaking out, the move up could be equivalent to this one. You know, so whether we move up now or we come back and consolidate for a few days and then move up by like the 7th or the 8th, either way, our targets look roughly the same. Now, the only thing is, does anything change, and do we have a dip below this triangle? And if we do, then that's probably going to be primarily based on what happens with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin takes a dip like that, then we might see that type of dip in other assets, including EGLD, because when Bitcoin does bad, a lot of the times what you'll see is people get scared in other assets, they think the altcoins are going to bleed, and then they start selling. But then there are times that the altcoins are looking very strong, and as Bitcoin's doing bad, people might buy a lot of EGLD. So either way, we can't tell right now. We need to wait about 2 days, and the key for the very short term, very, very short term, is to see, are we going to get the support we need at the level we need? And right now, that support area is right here. We want to see support between 135 to 145. If that entire range provides support and we don't fall below 135, that's really good indication that we're going to start another run up pretty quickly. If we go down a little bit below, then like I said, you're going to be looking for the trading to be within this area of the triangle. Keep in mind, my EGLD chart is available to you. It's in the description below the YouTube video, so make sure you go down there, check out the EGLD chart. You can follow along for the next couple of days and just see kind of how it plays out. And I've gone ahead and saved that, so you should be good. Somebody also asked me if I could share my Cardano chart. So I'm planning on doing that. I haven't done it yet, but as soon as I have that chart saved as a new layout and I share it out, we'll do that. You know what? I wonder if I can do that now. So let's say make a copy, and we will call this the ADA, we'll just call it Cardano ADA. We'll save that. So it opens up a brand new chart for me. And what I'm going to do is go into my Cardano chart and save that. So what I'll do at the end of this video is I'll make sure to include this link in the description. So by the time you're watching this, check my description. You'll have a link to the Bitcoin chart, you'll have a link to the Cardano chart, and you'll have a link to the EGLD chart. Okay, so looking at Cardano. Cardano has pretty much done exactly what I told you it was going to do in our last video. So I hope you watched that. It would have given you some good insight. The predictions we make on this channel, or that any YouTuber makes, or anyone who's doing technical analysis makes, they're not always going to be accurate, right? We're not always going to be able to call everything correctly. But in this scenario, we called the levels pretty accurately. So one thing that I want to do, because we just started a new chart, I want to turn on I want to create a brand new fib retracement. So we're going to get rid of the old fib retracement. I'm going to get rid of the EMAs. We're going to put in a new fib retracement here. Let's make sure we have the right one selected. Where is it? Why do I always lose these things? Fibonacci, there we go. Okay, so fib retracement. We're going to come to the base candle here where we saw the move. Normally I would start a lot earlier than this, honestly, but I don't want to go back too far. Let's start, yeah, we kind of need to start here. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, we'll try to do this on a bit shorter time frame, and we're going to try to hit the median trend. Okay, so that gives us some key levels, and I'm seeing a lot of accuracy in the targets looking at it this way. Okay, so this, yeah, that really looks the most accurate to me. So we will hold that fib retracement there. I might adjust this a little later, but if we take a quick look at this, basically what this is showing us is, and this is a little bit different than the last fib retracement, right? Normally, if you create a longer fib retracement, then you're going to get higher levels. I'm creating this way so we can follow this for a longer term. And basically from this pump at around 85 cents up, we have some key support and resistance levels, and pretty much what we ended up doing was falling down and falling through the median line here. What we're looking for with Cardano is very similar to what I talked about before. We're looking, in my last video, I told you we're looking for support between $1.06 and $1.08. And you actually hit the support exactly at $1.06. And then we got bought back up. We're still trading on a downward trend. At this moment, we're really looking for that support between $1 and $1.05. So pretty much in this range here. From here to here, which is going to equal out to about there. We want to make sure we get support at that area. And we do see that if we don't get support there, then there's a little bit of a gap in the volume, which means that the price could go back down to around 94 cents. And that should be our next level of support. Now with Cardano, what I really hope to see, because the asset itself is so bullish, is that as we start hitting these prices of around $1.98, I expect that it'll turn around pretty quickly. And the reason for that is because as this asset becomes more affordable and people are so bullish on it, they're going to want to start buying it up quickly. And at that point, we'll likely see a move similar to what we saw here. Now, this move would essentially show that we would go sideways for a couple of days, and then we would take a move back up and likely get resistance at around this trend line, which could be anywhere from $1.30 to $1.40. And if you see that, if you see us go up and get resistance on this trend line, then the key is once we break it, do we flip it to support? Do we turn it into support like we did here? And if we do, then it's a good chance that we're going to start targeting the $1.50 range. As far as downward targets go for Cardano, primary support lies at 92 cents. Do I think we're going to hit 92 cents? I think it's unlikely, but depending on what happens with treasury yields and how we see Bitcoin react to the market, there could be another downswing, but I don't think it'll go past 92 cents. So keep that in mind, that there's a major support area there. And honestly, if you're long Cardano, what you really want to see right now is you want to see a lot of sideways trading between $1 and $1.25. If you see sideways trading between this range for another 5-6 days, then that will equal out to the amount of support that you got in this area, which is between 80 and 90 cents. And if these areas start building as much support, then you'll see your support line here come out like this. And if that happens, then what you're looking for is a big move up to 150 without the possibility of falling back below $1.15, right? So that's a huge move for Cardano, because if Cardano does this, puts in the volume, and then Cardano trades above 150, let's just say that you get into Cardano anywhere between $1.15 and $1.20. We'll just start with $1.20, and then the price moves up to $1.50. You're looking at a 25% gain. So that's really good for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are going to be betting on that. But I would keep your eye on it, and remember what I told you about risk. Every project has risk, especially the projects that are reliant on people. So keep it in mind. That's what we're looking at. I think that's about everything for today. We've gone over Bitcoin, we've gone over Ethereum, we've gone over EGLD, and we've gone over Cardano. So I think we'll wrap it up there. You know, it's already been pretty long, about 24 minutes, but not too bad. Not too bad. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me on Twitter. Put a comment in the comment area below, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. I appreciate you. Trade safely. More videos coming very, very soon. Peace.